So I recently picked up the Kingdom Hearts 1.5 2.5 remix, and I figured, while I'm at it, I might as well review these games. After all, the series is beloved by many people, so why not just chime in and say what I have to say about these games. Now, I've never played the first Kingdom Hearts game before making this video. My Kingdom Hearts experience prior to this video was playing through half of the second game and the entirety of the third game, so I was going in completely blind. So after playing the game over multiple days, and putting 30 hours into the first game, I gotta say, it's pretty fun. The original Kingdom Hearts isn't the greatest game to grace the earth, but it didn't make me want to blow my head off either, so that's a plus. The game is a very direct and simple game. You're this kid who has to go through these Disney worlds in order to stop the darkness. The game's premise isn't anything special, but it's also not confusing and aimless. We'll get to you later. Almost every world in the game has some great theming, opposed to maybe Monstro, which is just a bunch of trippy looking corridors that all look the same. The only thing that sucks is that the quality of each world varies pretty widely. You've got some good worlds like Halloween Town and Agrabah, and also some pretty shit worlds like Monstro and the Little Mermaid level. It's not enough of a gripe to completely ruin the experience, but it does give you a bit of whiplash when you go from fighting a giant Oogie Boogie house boss alongside Jack Skellington while repping the coolest costumes in the entire game, to being stuck in a water level with Ariel for an hour, only to realize that Ursula exists. What the fuck? Fuck this level. There are some other small complaints I have level-wise, including but not limited to the Tarzan level having a confusing layout, Wonderland being shorter than my dick, and Hollow Bastion having these areas where you could just up and fall off, forcing you to backtrack through these areas that you don't need to revisit. But these gripes are rather small complaints I have about these levels that most people will be able to easily overlook. Now let's talk about the story. The story is ultimately forgettable, but it also didn't piss me off like some other games I'm going to review soon. So I'd say it's alright. It doesn't bring anything relatively exciting to the table, but it does stay simple and easy to follow for the most part. It's not throwing a bunch of blank slate, boring characters at you. It's not trying to tell some confusing, overarching story over several different titles that nobody played. It's just a nice, simplistic story about a kid trying to understand the power of friendship, which is a bit cliche, but it's also not on the level of Pokemon, so I'll give it a pass. The only other complaint I have story-wise is that the voice acting, much like the level design, is very inconsistent. On one hand, you have characters like Hades, where you can tell that the voice actor cares about this character, leading to a great performance. And on the other hand, you have these robots blatantly reading their lines without any emotion whatsoever.
Say, Kyrie, what was your hometown like? You know, where you grew up?
I've told you before. I don't remember.
Nothing at all?
Nothing.
You ever want to go back?
Well, I'm happy here.
The gameplay is alright, but it hasn't aged particularly well. For being the first game in the series, the combat is pretty meh. It's not something to get super pissed about. However, the combat is undeniably clunky at points. The combat is some of the most bare bones in the whole series, but that's to be expected for the first game. You have a good amount of moves in your arsenal, being able to put skill points into having better combos or magic, but in my playthrough I never bothered to explore the moveset outside of melee combos and healing. I'm sure the magic is decent in this game, but the magic bar in this game sorta held me back from kinda using anything other than cure the whole game. Maybe I just have a big dumb ape brain that's incapable of understanding the true potential of magic attacks in this game, but nevertheless I never found a great use for anything other than cure. The AI of Donald and Goofy is pretty bad, usually leading them to hugging up against an enemy and dying, but that's balanced out by the fact that they'll usually save your ass with a heal, so it's not enough to completely sour the game. The difficulty of the game is hard to talk about, saying that Kingdom Hearts has difficulty settings, but from my experience on normal difficulty, I'd say the game is pretty balanced. Until you reach the end of the game. The end of the game. The end of the world is where the game goes from very fair and not that tough to, fuck you kid, grind out these damage sponges for 2 hours, and after that it's done, fight this boss that has 100 different phases. You go from not so difficult sections with the potential to die if you don't play your cards right, to very dumb fuck you attacks, like Ansem's submit attack, Like, look at this. It comes out super fast, and when you get hit by it, you're essentially barred from attacking Ansem while your health just gets drained by this demon thing. Again, maybe I just have a dumb ape brain, but attacks like these felt near unavoidable, souring the end of the game. So with that being said, I give Ansem's submit attack a 0 out of 10. Fuck you, Ansem. But just to make sure that the difficulty isn't too unbalanced, let's fight this question mark guy. Seems like it'll be a lot of fun.
I give up.
Alright, I've been a bit too negative. Let's get back to the positives. The soundtrack is pretty good. Not all of the songs are bangers, and not all songs are created equally, but it would be a crime not to acknowledge the bangers present in this game. Traverse Town's theme and battle theme, Neverland's battle theme, the End of the World's battle theme. It's a game that has some undeniably great tunes, with some slapping harder than Will Smith at the Oscars. If there's one thing that should be praised for this game other than the world theming, it's the soundtrack. Overall, the game is a fun time that just hasn't aged incredibly well. It's a game that will be enjoyed by most, but it isn't an experience I would go out of my way to play. It's a mixed bag of ideas that combine to make a pretty decent experience overall, only brought down by its lack of polish and consistency. But with that being said, I'm going to give Kingdom Hearts a 7 out of 10. Hey, thanks for watching. Like it, dislike it, you know I don't care. And until next time, don't do anything stupid.